Hello everyone and welcome back to another video on my channel. In today's video we are going to be doing a boot review of the Nike Phantom GX Elite DF. Now this is another review that is very overdue, as if you go on my channel you'll see that I posted the unboxing for this 5 months ago. And I've been behind on my reviews, so I'm finally glad to get to these. Like my other reviews, I'm just going to talk about the pros and the cons of the boot, what I like, what I don't like, things that you guys can, factor into your own decision making if you decide to go for these, if you are so interested. And yeah, without further ado, let's just get started with this review. Beginning with the pros of the Phantom GX Elite DF, I want to talk about this upper material called GripKnit. So GripKnit, to be very basic about it, is Flyknit that's been reverse engineered in a way to try and give the upper a bit more grip. With GripKnit, you have some yarns that are coated with silicone, while some yarns are just completely exposed. And when these yarns are fused together, they kind of give you this fingerprint-like design that's on the upper, and it gives you a waxy or sticky texture to the upper that is pretty much unlike anything else on the market right now. It's very, very noticeable if you're playing in like wet conditions, for example, and you try to take a touch or dribble. And especially, I'd say you'll feel the most benefit from the GripKnit upper if you're someone with a good first touch already, or you're very good at dribbling already, because by then you would already have a good touchdown, but this just kind of amplifies it just that teensy bit more and makes the experience more fun for you. For me personally, I noticed when I was taking dead touches, the ball would stick to my foot more with the GripKnit, but especially when I was dribbling. I like to dribble using my outstep or the lateral side of my foot, and that helps me go faster when I'm dribbling, of course. And when I'm dribbling like that, sometimes the ball would get stuck, or my foot would get stuck on the ball because of the grip and the waxy feeling from this upper, which is unlike something like a Mercurial Vapor or even like the leather football boots that are on the market right now, even the synthetic leather. So my foot would get stuck, the ball would drag behind me, or I'd trip over it, or so on and so forth. And that is a little bit of a learning curve that you'll have to get used to if you get the Phantom GX, whether the DF version or the low version. It's just a little thing you'll have to get over first of all, because especially if you haven't used grip elements before on a football boot, you might be a little, surprised at how well these actually stick to the ball. But apart from that, it's a very fun experience to use these. And once you've really got past that learning curve, which doesn't take that long, in my opinion, it took me about maybe a few sessions to get used to it, you really notice just how effective the GripKnit is. For my dribbling, my touches on the ball became more concise, more precise, and just I felt more sleek. I felt more in control with the ball, even though I'm already pretty good at dribbling. So it's just a really nice thing to have. This GripKnit upper is definitely a major positive for this football boot. The next thing that's a positive is the Ghost Laces system. I don't know if you guys can see the branding here. Hopefully it focuses, but it says Ghost Laces right here. And basically what that does is you have laces hidden underneath here. And when you tie the laces, what you'll do is you'll tuck the laces inside this lace cover. So you guys can kind of see the laces there. So I'm holding them out. You'll tuck the laces inside this lace cover. And then once you do that, you have a nice clean striking surface, similar to that of a laceless football boot. Now, for me, I really enjoy it because when I'm trying to shoot the ball, sometimes the lace bunion, as I like to call it, or that little knot where the laces kind of come through to each other, that can sometimes hit the ball and cause me some lace bite, which is really irritating. And sometimes after striking the ball many times, it just causes my laces to come undone inside the boot or outside the boot. So even if they come undone inside this boot, it doesn't really matter because you have the lace cover, so it won't really cause you any issues in that regard. So that's really good. The next thing I really like about this is the fit. The Phantom GX is probably the best fitting Nike boot that Nike had in their lineup for 2022 and 2023 for people with wide feet. And while I said had, I'll get to that point later on. But basically, the GripKnit of this upper is very stretchy because it's kind of just exposed Flyknit. So it just stretches and accommodates to many different foot shapes, wide, narrow, etc., etc. And because it's not too wide or too narrow, you just get that good balance of fit for people who want to try the boot out, no matter what your foot shape is. For me personally, I have a wider foot, as I've mentioned in many of my videos. So this stretched enough to accommodate. I do have a little bit of stretching out on the sides, but stretched enough to accommodate my foot, and that's really, really nice for someone like me who gets a little bit of foot cramping, especially on the mid-foot area of my feet, because that's the widest area of my foot. So for this to just stretch perfectly and accommodate that nicely, I really appreciated that. And then I think I have two more pros with this. The next would be the outsole. So first of all, this outsole is actually on the flexible side. Something that I'm not really the biggest fan of, but it's still very good because it provides a lot more comfort. And the next thing I'm a big fan of, more so than the actual outsole, is the stud pattern. As you can see, this stud pattern features conical studs, tri-star studs, and chevron studs. So you get a pretty good balance of, ability to twist and pivot, for example, with the conical studs and the tri-star studs. You get a lot of traction and bite from the chevrons and the tri-stars. And just the studs themselves are pretty long, so you get a good amount of grip regardless of the surface that you're playing on. Even for soft ground, I don't think these would be bad just because of how long the studs are. I've used these primarily on artificial ground, and my experience with them has been pretty good. I know because they're long and because most of the studs are more aggressive, you probably wouldn't want to use these on artificial ground just to avoid, getting stuck in the turf. But in my experience, that hasn't happened to me, and the boots have felt pretty stable and, pretty free underfoot, whether I'm playing on artificial grass or natural grass, like I've done like maybe twice. So another major positive for these. And I think there's one more. Yeah, that's right, the lockdown. So the lockdown with these boots is exceptional. As I mentioned in my unboxing of the Superfly 9, that Marcus Rashford colorway, the Phantom GX at the time and the Nike Mercurial line both used a narrower opening on the DF version. So this DF and the Superfly 9, they both had narrower openings, which meant that you had more lockdown and a tighter wrap around your heel. You also have a nice heel counter in here that's pretty sculpted and really wraps around the back of the heel, so you feel tucked in place. And the biggest part about the lockdown with these boots is actually the Ghost Laces cover. So because it's a lace cover, it doesn't stretch as much because it needs to be more structured, so that's not like flying apart all the time. It's basically sewn in this area right here, in this area here, where more of the structure is. Because of that, when you're trying to put the boots on, and you get your feet in, it just creates a tighter, more secure wrap, because when your foot shifts inward or outward, it's not going to stretch as far, making sure you get that lateral and medial stability as well that you would need to be supported in the boots. So yeah, there's a lot to love with these boots. Like, I've had a really good experience in playing with them, and so that's why there's so many pros in this section. I think we've talked about 5 different things now. It just highlights how good of a boot the Phantom GX really is, especially this DF version. Forgot to mention this as a pro as well. The durability of these boots is fantastic. Honestly, just looking at them, I've had no sole separation on either boot. I have the right one off to the side, but this is the left one. I have no sole separation on either side of the boot where the upper meets the sole plate. No sole separation throughout the midfoot or even in the heel. No actual physical damage, no cracking or, fraying of the studs on this football boot. The upper itself is very durable despite being exposed flying it. Apart from when I was filming the B-roll that you guys are seeing in this video, I've had no issues with fraying or tearing or anything. And the only issue I had was because I shot one of the soccer balls over the fence, and there's like an area where there's like a lot of shrubs and plants in there, and it's just grassland, right, with trees. And in that area grows something called thistles. I don't know, maybe some of you know what they are, some of you don't. I will put a picture to show you. But basically, thistles are these ball-like things that have a bunch of thorns or needles stuck inside them that grip onto whatever you're wearing, be it clothes, your shoes. It can even stick to you. And on top of that, it has a sticky adhesive inside. Not much different to what's on this grip knit upper. So what happened was when I was stepping, those thistles got stuck against the edge or the side of the grip knit upper, so right here for example. And when I tried to rip it out, because of how sticky the thistles are and how waxy grip knit is, it was just so difficult, so I had to pull really hard. Because of that, on this side, you guys may not be able to see it, you probably won't be able to see it at all actually, but right here, some of the knit yarns are starting to pull apart. Like, when you wear a sweater and you start to see like the tiny little yarns of fabric like poking up, for example. That's the kind of thing that's happening on both this and my right boot. But apart from that, like, those are accidental issues. I've had no issues from actually playing in the boots. No wear and tear. The boots are just dirty, but otherwise they are perfectly good condition. So I really like that about these boots. Durability, A+. In terms of cons, there is not much to really hate about the Phantom GX. In fact, I'd say the things I'm about to bring up are not even really cons, but more just like nitpicky things. So first I want to start off with the sole plate actually. I mentioned earlier that the sole plate is really flexible, And the reason why I'm saying this is kind of a nitpick thing is because for me personally, I prefer sole plates that are more rigid and more responsive, especially through the forefoot area. You get that snapback when you're pushing off. So something like the sole plate on the Mercurial Vapor 15 or Superfly 9, or the Speed Frame on the Crazy Fast series, even, you know, the outsole on the Puma Ultra Ultimate, for example. I prefer those to something like this, which is very flexible. That's because I just like that more aggressive, you know, rebound-like feeling that you get from these football boots. But that said, that doesn't make this a bad outsole. So in one way, you could say that maybe like, okay, you know what, the best way to describe this would be, it's down to personal preference what you think about this outsole. If you're someone like me, you prefer something more responsive, more rigid, and harder underfoot, you won't really like this, which I can see as being a con, but again, that's a personal preference issue. Objectively, it's not the greatest. Or objectively, it's fine, but subjectively, for me, it's not great. But that's, again, a personal preference thing. The other con I really want to mention is the difficulty of putting these on. Now, I mentioned before, because of the lockdown and the way that this Ghost Laces cover is sewed together with the boot, it's really tight, giving you a lot of lockdown and a lot of, you know, stability from lateral and medial, like shifting, if that makes sense. But now when it comes to putting the boots on, when you need that lateral stretch or that medial stretch, so you can really slip your feet into the boots, you don't get that because of this lace cover. And that means when you're putting the boots on, especially like going forward, it is incredibly difficult to get on. I've been training mostly in the winter with these, so that can be even more frustrating because I usually put on my boots without my gloves. So when I'm doing it without my gloves, my fingers will freeze and they'll start to, like, you know, really hurt as I try to jam my foot into the boots. And this is only made worse with grip socks. I have two different types of grip socks, the Pure Grip Socks Pro, shout out to soccerreviewsforyou.com and his brand. I also have the Nike grip socks from Nike, of course. The Pure Grip Socks Pro are a lot harder to get on because they actually feature the rubber elements on the bottom, which make the sock thicker in volume, and rubber has more friction than just a rougher fabric. So when you try to put the boots on, combined with the fact that these don't exactly stretch well to let you in, it can take a long time. I think the longest I've taken to put on a pair of GXs was 2 minutes. And this was like in a really cold day when I had to train, and it was just not a fun experience. So again, another issue, but I've more or less learned how to do it now without really hurting myself and how to save time doing it. So again, it's more of a nitpick issue, and it doesn't affect the performance of the boot. You could argue that the sole plate issue of it being more flexible is more of an issue, but again, that's just down to subjective preference. So yeah, not really much to say in terms of cons, and like I said, I feel like these cons are more just nitpicks than anything. So overall, the Phantom GX Elite is quite literally an incredible football boot. I am very lucky that I got to get a pair of these because especially when they were still the current model, which I'll get to, these were incredibly hard to come by. When Nike would drop a pair or a colorway on their website, it would sell out within a few hours, regardless of the colorway, regardless of the model, regardless of the type of sole plate you had, FG, AG, SG. They would sell out like crazy. And even other retailers who had the boots, they would sell out like crazy there too. So you can tell these were just very popular because of how good they are. Now, I said they were the current model, and that's because they've been replaced. The GX as a whole has been replaced by the GX2, but within the GX line, it's now the GX2 for the low cut and the Luna 2 for the high cut. If you guys remember from last year, we had the Phantom Luna, which was that mediocre take on a women's football boot that was supposed to be a complement to this Phantom GX in the DF version. Basically, it didn't sell well, so Nike said, okay, you know what, we're just going to add the Luna name to the very well doing GX. I know that doesn't sound great grammar-wise, but the very successful GX. We're just going to put the Luna name there. And we're going to make the DF version the Luna and keep the low cut as a GX. Similar to how with the Mercurial line, the low cut is the Vapor and the mid cut is the Superfly. So that's where we are now. And apparently a lot has changed with those boots. For example, they don't have this lace cover anymore, and it's more of a one-piece upper, whereas this is more of a two-piece construction due to the lace cover and the knit base underneath. And then they also took the sole plate from the Luna and put that on the GX2. But I'm not here to talk about the Luna 2, I'm here to talk about these. So yeah, these are no longer the current model. And unfortunately, if you want to buy a pair of these, because they are very good, all I can really say is go on a resale website like eBay, StockX, GOAT, any other sites you can think of. Even check out some retailers. Maybe you might get lucky if they have your size still in stock. You may be able to get some of the older colorways on sale as well. But apart from that, there's no other really, good way to get these boots. Maybe you have a friend who has them but doesn't like them. Maybe that helps too. I would say if you want an experience like this, the closest thing you can get is the GX2. There is nothing on the market as similar to this, especially in terms of grip, because the Phantom GX and its closest competitor in terms of grip technology, being the Adidas Predator line, use grip completely differently. This uses grip more for control and your touch on the ball, whereas the Predator line uses grip through rubber instead of actual engineered, like an engineered upper that's made with grippy elements integrated into it. It's more of like rubber placed on top of the upper, and that rubber is used for generating power, more so with striking or pinging a ball or crossing a ball. So just very different in approach, and as such, this is pretty much the most unique experience you can get on the football market, with the most similar thing to it being the Nike GX2. So with that all said, I hope you guys enjoyed this review of the Nike Phantom GX Elite DF. Stay tuned for more reviews coming soon. I should have a Predator review for the Predator Elite coming out in, a few days. It might even be sooner. You never know. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Like I said, stay tuned. Check out my social medias on Instagram and TikTok, and also check out my shorts feed. All of them go by the name of elodigwe.football. And if you're new here, like, comment, subscribe. Even if you're old, do the same thing. Show me some support. Show me what you think about these videos, and drop a comment. Let me know what you think about the boots, how they fit and feel. If you have them, maybe you wanted them, you weren't able to get them. Just let me know. With all that said, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you all in the next video. Take care.